Welcome to VoxFem Fest 2023. I'm Lourdes Pérez, your host for the listening room. It is an honor to introduce AWNA TEIXEIRA. Multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, Madeiran Canadian-born AWNA TEIXEIRA Day is now based in Lisboa, Portugal. Self-taught later in life, their styles are a mixture of genres ranging from indie folk to pop, rock, roots, and Americana. Heavily influenced by their upbringing of Madeiran Portuguese music, food, and culture, largely from their close-knit relationship to the grandparents. Their songs tell personal and familial stories of loss and love by way of migration and assimilation. Touring and performing solo and in various bands since 2001, AWNA's songs tell tales of living life on the road as a touring musician for the better half of 22 years. Please welcome AWNA TEIXEIRA. Masterful in so many things and instruments and ways of presenting life in poetry and song in a way that is so amazing that it leaves you changed. And so it has been a pleasure to meet you, to work together in the past, and to have you here today. So thank you and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a joy to be here. And I'm just so happy to see you. And I'm looking forward to getting to talk with you for a minute.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes.
Life has thrown so many challenges at us, but here we are, and here you are. It's great to see you. I wanted to start with the present because it's a very exciting time for you. You're in Madeira right now, and yes. So I want to know how a change in geography and reconnecting with your roots and in your ancestors have been influencing a new work. What is happening, like emotionally? What's going on?
Oh, wow. It is so many things, as I'm sure people can imagine it, to come to a place that I was born in Canada, but my family immigrated from Madeira to Canada when my father was a child. So I've grown up knowing about this place my whole life and being exposed to the culture. I was very closely raised by my grandparents, my grandmother, by her food and culture and the music. And so I spent a lot of time at their house growing up. And it's a really interesting place to understand this like longing of loss for something that you knew that you had to leave behind to try to have a better life. And not actually being born here in Madeira, but knowing that loss and growing up with that sadness of having to leave. It's wild to come here and feel that sadness, like knowing like this is all my family knew, and what they had to leave behind everything they knew, the language they knew, the food they knew, to try and get a better life, because they didn't have the means here to live comfortably. So it was leaving a challenging situation for the better, but that came with a lot of loss, a lot of familial loss and traditional loss. And so it brings up a lot for me being here, and it's beautiful. Some of my family were able to immigrate to Canada and make some money and come back to Madeira and buy a little bit of the land that my family sharecropped for many, many generations. And so there's a house, and there's two houses in the village where like my great grandparents were from, all the way down to my father. And I got to yesterday go to the village and visit some family and weed in the garden beds, in the banana plants on the land that has been in my family's working, my family's been working on forever. And, I was really connecting, saying hi to my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great great grandmother, just getting to feel that in my hands as I'm working the soil. So it's a very visceral experience for me and beautiful. And it's, I know that these experiences will come out in my writing because it's like as we move through life, we're collecting these stories and these experiences and these feelings. And as you know, as a songwriter, those kind of accumulate inside of you and they brew inside of you.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to see how I've been in Portugal for 4 months now. I moved here in February. But I've mainly been in Lisbon because that's where things are more accessible for me to,
Right.
It's not as accessible for, sadly, for people of my generation to be able to afford, who aren't land rich and who aren't from families who have the means to come here and survive, because it's a huge tourism economy. So I'm in Lisbon at the moment, but I get to come over here and visit. And so that's been just unbelievably rich for me. And I know it's going to be coming out in my writing over the next year. So
I can't wait to hear it, because you're harvesting the next crop
yes,
of creation and music with your own hands. It's interesting because the word that came to me was visceral when you were talking about how it feels, which basically, which one of my questions was going to be, what do you need to write, right? And you just answered it before I asked it, because right
yes.
there you're doing. I think the other question would be, what sounds start to emerge in your mind as you do these activities of reconnecting with the ancestral lands?
Oh, yeah, a real I will in traditional Portuguese music, and there's always this sound that's kind of a wailing sound, like there's a really deep guttural wailing sound that traditional fado singers do. And those are kind of the songs that the sounds that kind of feel like they're floating around me as I'm here. And um yeah, and there's some traditional rhythms that come from modern music, and I can feel those, and as I'm going to the loja, to the store, to get things, there's traditional modern music playing, and it's like everywhere here. So I can just kind of hear that as I walk, and that's been filling me with so much joy. And there's also a traditional modern instrument called the rajau, and it's a small 5-string instrument that was, it's traditionally played here. And I do have an addiction to buying instruments and trying new things, but that has been one that's been on my mind that I plan on getting in this next year and incorporating into the songwriting that I'm doing, because it only seems right that I have access to that instrument now being here, because you can't really find it in other places.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. And it's small. It's like a little bigger than the ukulele. It's like the size of
Okay.
a baritone or a tenor ukulele. And so, I can be wearing that and walking through the banana farms, or, like walking on the beach here. So that's something I plan on doing in the near future for sure.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
It is also such a gift that when you walk into a local store, that you hear the music of a place. That's a lot has been stripped of our places of origin, of that
Yes.
original music. So it's such a enriching environment that you place yourself into. And was this move like you wanted to intentionally be in a place that would just give you all this gift that you were yearning from them, for them?
Yes. Yeah, it was very intentional. I think the lockdown, like so many people, it changed my life completely. So it I had to relocate from the US because of it. And I knew that, I had never lived in Portugal before because I'm from Canada and I lived and worked in the US for so long, that it only seemed like the right thing to do now. And it's like I needed something to connect to and to give me a sense of belonging somewhere because I felt like I haven't belonged anywhere for so long. Um, Kind of being, working and living in the US, but not fully and completely being able to be there. So it was very intentional to try and reconnect with my roots and learn the language better. And I tried to get to a place where I can work the land here too, to get my hands dirty, because I love gardening and landscaping, and that's one of my other passions. So that's something I plan to do here.
That's awesome. The thing that is just beautiful about your music, about there's many things, but I think that that sense of belonging is already in your music. And some of the tributes you've done to your grandfather and the immigrants, and that is there, and is so just transformative that I can't wait to hear the next set of works that are going to come out of there. People ask a lot, what does it take to stay in music so long? You have toured extensively, you have recorded on your own and with groups, and there is something about staying with this work that is both amazing and exhausting. So
yes,
I want to ask, what things keep you going, and what challenges have you faced, if you want to speak about them at all?
yeah.
But because what people get to see is this hour performance, half hour, 2 hours, whatever. The whole story that comes from there is most times unknown. So I just wanted to know what keeps it going, and what challenges are there.
Yeah, great questions. Because there's so many, as you know. I think the biggest challenges for me is and the biggest, like, my biggest aspirations for music is to stay true to the story and the song. So much of the time when we're trying to do this for a living, or when you're doing any art as a living, you can get caught up in what it takes to sell it, or what we have to focus on in the business side of it, which is the furthest thing from creativity. It's like it's so hard to keep that balance and to keep the focus on the things, on why we're here and why we're doing it. And it's so I think that's my biggest challenge in these last few years, when um the lockdown from the COVID pandemic really changed a lot of things for many musicians, and it kind of stopped me in my tracks for a few years. And I'm slowly finding my way back to what it means to me now, and how I will move forward in it now. And I tried to remember why I'm doing this, and there's so many reasons behind it. It's a compulsion, for one. It's my spirit needs it personally. It's like my spirit needs that expression. But also in the big and little ways that I've seen how music affects other people and how music affects me. And it's a way of connecting. It's a way of connecting to others. And that's one of the most important things to me. And I see as humans like trying to heal as a whole. It's like connection, community, learning how to really live in that and be there for each other. And music is something that brings people together and is like one of the roots of that, you know, and of connection. And there's nothing like that, you know, and just even understanding in like, you know, you can be playing a show and maybe 5 people are there, but you have no idea who those 5 people are and how that night could be affecting one of those people or 2 of those people. And it's important no matter what level you are at, where you're at, how much money you're making, what all of those things. And that's what I try to hold on to moving forward. So.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful because it's you're so aware, and you know, sometimes as artists we become a bit of a live wire. We kind of have a sense of so many emotions at once, and sometimes that could be draining to you.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's so wise that you put yourself in an environment that will ground you, because grounding is survival. And I think the pandemic took so much from all of us. And I think that the replenishing is as important as the giving, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that the way you frame it and you talk about it is like this stubborn obsession I must do because it's needed, and you never know who's there to receive it. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 or 1,000 people. And so that is so beautifully said. It also speaks to your to your capacity to feel your gift as transformational. So I'm really moved because I have experienced that when I listen to you. So what? Yes, it's true. Take it.
No,
It means a lot.
It means a lot coming from you.
So what's next? Like what is you're gonna stay there for a while? You're gonna stay there permanently? What's your thinking about?
Well,
If you have
it's a little bit unknown. I'm gonna be here
right?
for a while. You know, I would like to stay here for forever. I just don't know what of forever is real, you know. but yeah. But I musically, I like at the beginning of the lockdown, I had started, or just before the lockdown, I had started writing an album of all accordion songs. So that's one thing, is that I have you know, a few different instruments that I write on, and I've never recorded an album of all songs written on accordion. And so I have a handful of partially written and some fully written songs. And my goal moving forward with that is, you know, to really reconnect with this place and my culture and the styles of singing here and the styles of playing here, and learn more about that and incorporate that into with my experiences here into finishing writing this body of songs. So that's something that is in the near future that I'm looking forward to. And the one thing with what I'm doing now is I'm not putting a time frame on anything. Like before with my career, there was in ways that I had to, like in the band that I was in previously with Po Girl, we had booking agents and record labels and, you know, all of the things. And so there was time frames for everything and the ways in the business, how everything had to be released in this way and doing it that way. And so it's totally intentional that I'm not putting that pressure on myself and
That's
finding
awesome.
my way. yeah, finding my way into this music again in the ways, in the time frame, in the ways that I'm ready to. And it's the only way I can do it now. You know.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and
Yeah.
that feels right. Tell me, what songs are we gonna hear on this through this interview? What songs you chose for us?
So I chose two songs. It's funny, I only have access to one album with me right now because I'm traveling and I'm only on my little phone. So, but I chose two songs off of my Wild One album, and I
Yes.
chose Blue Heart on Your Sleeve, which is a song that I wrote for my grandmother, my avoa Fernanda, um, and our relationship and her relationship to struggling with mental illness and living in a new culture in life and having to adapt within those things. And the other song I chose is called In the Wintertime. And that was a song I wrote for a dear friend of mine, Vince Howe, who is from Penelakut Island on the west coast of Canada. And it is a tribute to him and his life and the experiences of him and his family being survivors of residential schools. So in Canada. So two very personal songs and powerful songs that by people who are two of the biggest influences, two of some of the biggest influences in my life. So yeah, those felt good. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we are part of the broader community. So
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and that feels so good to see you both and to get to talk to you because it really feels that way, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to speak with you, to listen to you, to know you, and to know your beautiful soul that continues to give, to harvest, to sing, and to never be stopped. We love you, and thank you so much for joining VoxFem today.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much for having me. And take sweet care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Okay.
casual firefly in the night, breath of a buffalo in a winter time, let a shadow that runs across the grass, loses itself in the sunset. Were you born, you cried, and the world rejoiced your life. Every animal knows more than you do that you're Rabbit Jones. The fox was slain, 1,000 voices tell a single story. Listen, or your tongue will make you deaf. When you die, you can be heard by the light in the sky to the end of the earth. The moon is not shamed by the barking of dogs. The old carrot shoes, his eyes closed shut. Heaven bird loves to hear himself sing, known forever by the tracks we leave. When you fight, try to forget all the broken hands that try to get. Sing a little song, flying through the trees, ghosts in a voice, swimming in the sea. Fuel your fire, fuel your mind, bury yourself in a winter time. When you born, you cry, and the world rejoiced your life. When you born, you cry, and the world rejoiced your life. And the world rejoiced your Ooh.